to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this, what is today, the 8th day of August here. Got a great show with you for tonight. Going to go over this week's biggest stories in the NFL. Got the Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez behind backstage. Going to ask him about Caleb Williams and this pressure to ball out, per se, right off the bat. We've got another Hard Knocks, the actual regular Hard Knocks, which is Chicago Bears there. Going to go over the Brandon Ayuk situation and get his thoughts on the which of these teams. We had the coaches poll come out this week. Which teams does he believe that he's pretty sure that's going to make the playoff coming up, and of course a few other things as well. Let's take our first and only break. We'll be back here in just a few short announcements, and we'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports and host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. You're watching the sharp-dressed man and the big story breaker, Robert Butler, on Sports Scope, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on National Streaming Sports. Thanks. To get the National Streaming Sports channel on your Roku TV, channel search National Streaming Sports. There's the channel search in Roku. There's our logo right on the right, NESSP. Tap on the logo and it will add to your TV, the channel to your TV. On your laptop, tablet, and mobile phone, download the free Roku app and channel search just like above. If you don't have Roku TV, you have to order a Roku device from the Roku store. Hook it up to your smart TV, and bang, you have Roku TV. Again, channel search, National Streaming Sports. Click on our NESSP logo and add the channel.
All righty then. That's all of our announcements there. Got the Mad New Yorker. He's on time today. Looks like he's light on his feet. How you doing, man?
Hello, everybody. Hello, Robert. How you doing? Happy Thursday.
Thursday. Yes. Might as well be a Friday, brother. Man, I don't know if you got a chance to see the new Hard Knocks. Pretty good with the whole Chicago theme and everything. Came on Tuesday, and even if you didn't, what's your thoughts about? Do you think there's too much pressure on Caleb Williams, him and the coaching staff, to just have a wide open offense with all this? You know, they acquired Keenan Allen in the offseason. They got Rome Odunze. We know he's a really good player with the 9th pick. They extended DJ Moore. Do you think that there's going to be too much pressure on him to simply go out and have a wide open offense right off the bat?
The best thing that the Bears can do is just sit there and watch. I wouldn't try to put or say that there's pressure or no pressure. I mean, even let's say there wasn't any pressure on Caleb Williams, he's going to have pressure on himself just to be a better quarterback than he was last year, and to try to change into developing into an NFL quarterback. So without question, there's always going to be something that's going to be, this is NFL, this is the major leagues. It doesn't get bigger than this, right? So whether he puts it on himself or he gets it from somewhere else, the media, his coaches, his family, whatever it is, there's going to something somewhere is going to be, there's going to be some kind of pressure or some kind of like, you're hoping for some, something to just click, and
what's your approach if you're Matt Eberflus, if you're the head coach there?
Focus on defense and just make sure that my offensive coordinators and my offensive coaching staff are on the same page. Other than that, keep your nose out of the offense. He's always been known to be a defensive minded person.
Yeah.
He's always also been known to be a good delegator amongst other coaches. So just do what you do best and just, focus on the team, but let the offense, do what they can do. You don't want too many chiefs in that room.
Right.
I'm not sure that the offensive coordinator is the best coordinator right now for someone like Caleb Williams, but it is what it is. You got who you got, and if you're a QB coach, you coach him up, and if you're the offensive coordinator, you give the opportunity for your quarterback to succeed and keep him out of danger. That's it. That's all you can do. The game will come to him as an NFL player, the first year, whenever it does, you're going to see him hit another level. So, to ask and to say what is the pressure going to get to him, nobody really knows. And, I think the tell of pressure just on being a number one or being a top draft pick as a quarterback is already enough to tell you that a lot of men can't handle it. Right. So, we just hope if you're a Chicago Bears fan that this guy is who he says he is, and then he grows to become your number one quarterback. I mean, the Bears have a lot of hope for this guy because they haven't had a number one QB that's been as successful ever. Like, they've had good quarterbacks, but they haven't had great quarterbacks. So, I think that right there, just a fan base in itself, they have pressure on the team and on the coaches, and then it dwindles down to the players, right? You're paying these guys a lot of money, and the fans want to see the ROI. So,
yeah, that's true. And Kevin says, betting the house on him, making no excuses. Those are what. And they've also got. I was mentioning this yesterday on the program. They got DeAndre Swift. And the reason why they kept Eberflus, I think, is because they do have the number one run defense. So his side of the ball, he got that right.
Right.
Watching it in the Hard Knocks, he seems to be feeling it, Eberflus, because you never really see like a defensive background head coach constantly talking to the quarterback.
Right.
I don't know if you got a chance to watch this new one yet.
No, yeah, I'm watching it.
He's following him around, though. You haven't got a chance yet?
No, but I've seen some clips. I've seen the Saban talk.
Yeah, he's following him around and stuff. Like, that's what if you're Sean McVay or Sean Payton type of guy, I wouldn't see like a Mike Tomlin or Pete Carroll following the quarterback all over the place. Would you?
No, and then, but to them also, though, they had not just a lot of high hope, but they had a lot of respect in their coordinators and their QB coaches to allow that team to just do what they had to do.
Right.
And so, and then they've also felt, those two coaches have felt the lash back of what's happened if they didn't stick the nose in at the right time. So it's not easy being an NFL coach, no matter what your system is, no matter what you're planning to do. The most important thing is that you hope and you pray that you're delegating, and then you're making sure that everybody's on the same page as far as your coaching staff as well as your team, right? So that's you wish for the best, and that's all you can do, because it's all going to come to fruition once the season starts, right? So
right. And the coaches poll came out this week. USC's 23rd. A lot of people are not saying this. I do think that to a certain extent, Lincoln Riley, Caleb's coach in college, he's on the hot seat, man. With this 12-team playoff, I'm not sure if they may. I know they tried every which way under the sun to get out of playing LSU this opening week, or opening week coming up in a few weeks, Labor Day weekend, excuse me. Do you see a situation where they just fire Eberflus and go out and hire Lincoln Riley to bring him with this former coach? Lincoln Riley sitting on the edge of he might get fired from USC, or he might feel the walls caving in and run towards the NFL. Can you see that playing out this time next year? We talking about Lincoln Riley, coaching the guy he coached at Oklahoma and USC.
Well, what if it's Mike Vrabel? What if it's another defensive coach from that?
Well, they'd probably go opposite of what they got.
I don't think so. This the everybody knows Chicago's live and die on defense. It's cultural, it's tradition. I don't think they'll go offense. I don't even think that they'll even put Lincoln, even though he's a coach for Caleb Williams in the past. I don't even think they'll put him on the top 5 of the coaching staff if they're looking to replace Eberflus. Because the thing is that the NFL is different, man. And even though the game's changing and you got the PPOs, you don't just want to throw in a coaching staff that's offensive minded and you're still a top-rated defense, because then you got to go back and be like, what coaches can I get that will keep my defense in the top 5? And it's usually not a coordinator from somewhere else. It's usually like you get a defensive-minded coach. So
I think it's, they had Matt Nagy before. He was offensive background. Then they went with Eberflus, defensive background. They usually go the opposite, but it always depends on who's got the better interview. I was for sure Seattle was going to go defensive, and then they are offensive because they left Pete Carroll, but they end up going defensive with the Ravens defensive coordinator. So you may have a point there, man.
Yeah, you don't want to flip the script on a top 5, top 10, team if you're up on the higher end on defense. If now they were from a top-rated offensive powerhouse and they still want to get rid of Eberflus, they probably still – it's the Chicago Bears. They'll probably still go defense, man. And it's, it's just – it'll depend on the GM and the
I don't know. This guy, he went with Keenan Allen and he went with Roman Dunze.
Yeah, but
DJ Moore, this is the best receiving core on paper they may have ever had in their whole lifetime.
You already know what I feel about Keenan Allen. I think they have him just as a placeholder. I don't think he has anything left in the tank. He didn't do that well last year. He didn't do that well last year, and they had one of the top 10 quarterbacks throwing him the ball. So,
okay,
I don't want to speak ill of Keenan Allen, but he is on the back end of his career. And, DJ Moore has, he's been being improved. They have a rookie wide receiver. They have enough offensive talent, and the quarterback has to rein them in and just, do what quarterback does and just get the job done. They have an opportunity being in the playoffs as well, just because of the division they're in, man. They're not in a very strong division, to be honest with you. And so I think that's another reason why they have so much high hopes. And I don't want to speak ill of the Vikings and the Green Bay saying that they're not any good. I just think that those teams are they've made so many moves there. They're in transition to trying to, the Vikings they moved on to a new quarterback and a backup rookie quarterback. And then the Green Bay Packers are like, everybody's saying, they're going to be better because they have Love now. And they also got rid of one of their best linemen in Runyon, right? So all of those teams are in transition. And then you have Detroit, who I don't think they got better from last year. So, we'll see that who comes out of that. I'm sure there's going to be a neck and neck race between one of those 3 teams.
Yeah. So it'll be a hot division, man. It's not going to be the same old boring NFC North. I still like Detroit, but we'll see. I mean, they lost their kicker, so that may.
You think Stafford's a top 10 quarterback, a top 5 quarterback?
Oh, I don't know, man. You know, Stafford's getting older, and if he stays healthy, he could easily be the second top 2 or 3 in the NFC. But the thing is, I don't know if he could stay healthy at 30.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean Stafford. I meant what's his name?
Love?
No, his replacement. Stafford's playing
Goff.
Goff. You think Goff is a top 5 quarterback?
Well, I mean, in the NFC, I mean, why wouldn't you say otherwise? Numbers don't say he's not.
Yeah, I mean,
you know?
because he was the one reason that they could have gotten that they could have gone to a Super Bowl, but he didn't take a team on his back and do anything positive in the last third and fourth quarter for Detroit. I mean, this is a guy that can't run as well. He's a pocket quarterback, and that's it. Like, he's proven that he can't run. So, we'll see. They don't,
Yeah, Backley got out, and Kevin says they got a guy from the UFL. If you quarterback, think
about what you're saying is, Robert. You're saying that we have to depend on the kicker because a quarterback who we're paying so much money can't carry them on their back.
Their quarterback got hurt for the season. That's a whole separate story. He got an injury, but you want this to happen in August. You don't want it to happen in the middle of the season when you're trying to get a guy off waiver wires. So I don't think it's going to hold them back. No, I got Detroit going to the Super Bowl as of right now.
Really?
Yeah.
I think their defense is Super Bowl material. I don't think their offense is Super Bowl. I think they're a wide receiver and a quarterback short of that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of that, what's your thoughts on that Jim Harbaugh? Don't you think that was a little over the top, man? 1 year suspension if he comes back, 4-year show calls for this. I sent you what the reporter said for the COVID recruiting violations. It feels very personal with him, because he kind of thumbed up to the NCAA, I guess.
I think that
put his thumb up to him, or
it's not just. I think it's also the Michigan thing and how they've always been the ones to drive the narrative in their own division and their own conference. So, and everybody knows that they're one of the top 5 schools. So, him being a coach in that top 5 school doesn't help the situation either. So it's kind of like a reflection of not just the coach, but also what the NCAA thinks of the University of Michigan Wolverines. So I think we should really think about that, look at it in a bigger perspective, because of course you're going to blame the coach, and then but you're never going to you don't do the trickle down effect. But I just feel like reading this, hearing what's been going on in the University of Michigan, it just seems like it's one of those things that, had it been a different university, I think things would have been differently. I think they still would have laid down some different type of consequence, but it wouldn't have been like what it is, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a pretty big name. Dude, I was asking Kevin yesterday, do you think that somebody would take a chance, say if he has a fallout with the Chargers ownership and he wants to go back to college, do you think somebody would take a chance on him being suspended for a year and have that 4-year show clause where he's being micromanaged by the NCAA for that 4 years?
I think any university would be sick if they didn't try to get a college coach like Harbaugh. He could be probably like a Saban, where Saban wasn't that successful in the NFL, and just go back to university level.
Do you think somebody would try to hire him?
I think they would, and then they would take a 1-year loss, because 1 year goes really fast in college football if you think about it. 1 year you're sitting high and you got the best coach in the league, and then next year he's like, that's it, he's gone. You got transfer portals, you got NIL deals, so it goes by fast.
I think they would too. I mean, you're like Kevin and myself. I believe that like a Ole Miss or a Missouri, they would roll the dice with a guy like Harbaugh, man.
I just think, like, even if someone like Harbaugh, he might just stay in the West Coast, though. He might not come to the Middle America. The West Coast is a lot more liberal in a sense with the division, the old Pac-12 that used to be in those schools in that division that were formerly in that division. I think they would. One of those schools would take a waiver on him for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I kind of think that. I believe he'll probably work it out. I think he's getting older. Maybe he does coach 7 or 8 years, and maybe he wins a Super Bowl with a Justin Herbert here. So Barkley, after all, he's going to stay unretired, and he got like a 10-year deal with inside the NBA. Do you see it working out if they go to the variety show style, since they're going to possibly lose after this year, the NBA stuff with those guys, with Ernie and Barkley and Shaq? I could see it working for certain sports, not everything, like the report says.
Right. Well, I think the NBA is not
hilarious.
Yeah, I think this goes more with what the NBA wants to control the narrative and how they put out their content with different media creators, right? So, and different subsidiaries. So the whole TNT thing, they're going to have rights to how the show's laid out and what they can do for that show. So maybe the NBA buys them out and allows them to be the same, maybe not, who depends. But at the end of the day, Barkley's not leaving because Barkley understands too.
It's a huge contract, $200 million.
It's not just a huge contract. He's always talked about how financially he was wanting to set up his family and wanting to do things, and how he learned from different people. So, he's just taking advantage of his situation. And even if he retired, he still wouldn't have been in a bad situation. Like even doing just simple commercials for Subway, he's making a little chump change, right? So
do you see it working if they were trying other sports? Because Shaq's normally a basketball guy, and the other.
I could see maybe just Ernie and Shaq both being accepted to do other sports, as far as like have mid to high ratings for being analysts in different sports. Shaq being Shaq and everybody knowing Shaq, and then Ernie being the analyst that he is
with Barkley, of course.
And then I feel like if I'm the NBA and if I'm who outside of TNT or any other network, I would just keep Barkley in the basketball realm. And I don't see it mean. I'm not saying it mean wise. I'm just saying because as intelligent as Barkley is, I'm not sure how people who are sports minded will appreciate his perspective coming from his side. When he's talked in the past on TNT about NHL hockey, about soccer, it's not. I think it's great because he's given his opinion and he's coming from a different perspective. But I'm an open-minded person. There's some people who watch hockey and who watch the NBA who don't not the NBA. I'm sorry, who watch hockey or soccer, and they're like, this guy, he played basketball. He don't know nothing about soccer.
Yeah, I do think those sports would bring him really out of it. I think he could probably do football and baseball, but when you start getting into soccer, he doesn't follow it like that. It would be comical. You couldn't take him serious.
It's not just that. It's I feel like the respect that he's gained and garnered from being a former NBA athlete and being part of the dream team. For my generation, a little bit older and maybe even younger, who don't know Barkley, it's better to keep him in the basketball realm, than it would be to put him out there. And then, what if he doesn't want to talk about lacrosse? What does he want to talk about, soccer or hockey, or what is or like even if he talks about baseball, like how much, and baseball's that's a tough crowd, to be honest with you. Especially when
I think he could probably do baseball.
Yeah. Especially when it comes to commentating. But I would, for him and to hear him and to hear his voice and to hear what he thinks, I feel like the best is to just keep him in the basketball realm. Just like Kenny Smith too. I don't think these two guys are not intelligent.
It would be the other guys that I would worry about. Yeah, Kenny Smith. Although I did like that story he told. We talked about it about a year ago. Barkley talking about back in his era. This was during the college basketball tournament, not this year, but last year. Barkley saying back in our day, we wanted to save time and we didn't have laundry situation. So we just took showers with their jerseys on. And Kenny's like, there was never an era.
Yeah, I mean,
remember that?
Yeah, and to be honest,
we took showers with to wash our jersey and shower. That is awful.
No, I know. You mentioning that, I think that's their niche, man. Their basketball, and it's because those guys, you respect them for their game, their knowledge. They could easily be GMs. They can easily be coaches. They can easily be scouts for, the NBA or even college. So, and that's a testament to who they are, how they played, and what they do. And not to take away from their knowledge of other sports. Even Charles Barkley, as much as he plays golf and he loves golf,
he does play a lot of golf. Yeah,
I don't think, and I'm not sure, but I feel like, in my opinion, he would gain, and people would would like to hear him commentating on golf, right? I don't know how many people would be like appreciating him.
He does those celebrity tournaments.
Yeah, but that's different. That's like, there's not too many.
I think it'll be a moot point, though, don't you think? Because possibly Amazon could just buy Discovery out and just put him on the NBA stuff. And he's such a good draw with that crew.
That's what I'm saying.
It feels like it's going to be a moot point, but I don't know. We still got another season where this is going to be regular TV.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, even if it's easier for them to buy out the rights and just keep the show,
right?
They can rename the show, but keep the team together. And they do very well in college basketball and in the NBA. So I wouldn't. I like to see that as a fan. I wouldn't want to see that be torn apart for anything. So
yeah.
I mean, they got an ending for a reason, right? So.
Yeah. Okay, man. I sent you this top 25.
I see something wrong.
What do you when you look at this, what teams do you think, if there's not a lot of injuries that we're going to be talking about in December as a playoff team? When you look at this top 25, what teams really stand out to you? You're like, okay, I know that team X, Y, and Z or whatnot.
I mean, it's hard right now because the way all the conferences are now mixed matched, and
you got the mega conferences.
So this just looks like something generic to put out.
Yeah,
and I feel like after week 2, you're gonna see like the middle of the pack, like 3 teams from the middle of the pack go up, and then the top 10 teams, you're gonna see like 4 of them go down after 3 weeks. And I say that because even as much as the SEC's conference is a strong conference, it's already changed. The landscape has already changed just by Saban not being there. I mentioned before on the show, like the competition level, it might be the same team, but I don't think the competition level will be as high because of what Nick Saban's able to do, as not just as a coach, but as somebody who prepares game, somebody who's been to the mountaintop, and they don't have that anymore in Alabama. They got players that want to get there, but mind you, just because Saban was coach, these guys will run through the wall for Saban, and he was able to manipulate situations for when the top players were not able to play, and they still were able to win some games without some top players not playing due to suspensions, injuries, and whatnot. So that's not going to be the same at all in Alabama. And if we're true to ourselves, we have to understand that is that's what the expectation needs. We need to be real about our expectations, right? I feel like maybe, and then you don't have that competition level. So then Georgia, if they play Alabama, they're not getting that same. They're not going to get that same game. And then if they go play somebody else, the other team can beat them because they're not playing the same Alabama team, So those kind of things, those.
You're saying Georgia's not going to be as motivated?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think
they still will be.
I think they're motivated, and they're going to play that we're the number one because Saban's gone. And then they'll try to live off of that. But if there's no team for them to play to get better, then they're not gonna make it too far in the and they're gonna lose a few games and maybe not be in the national championship.
Yeah,
so and I feel the same thing about Michigan too. So with Harbaugh not being there,
I just Michigan's gonna they're gonna fall off. They'll fall off like the Titanic. I mean, 3 players coming back, and this guy was just an assistant under Harbaugh. I seriously doubt they're going to be any good. I mean, they'll probably be one of the first teams to lose.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, man. They're not going to do nothing.
I think Ohio State is more in Michigan State. I think those 2 teams are going to flip-flop.
Well, Michigan State's got a new coach. They've got the coach
from I'm sorry, University of Michigan. University of Michigan.
Oh yeah, Michigan. Okay.
And then Notre Dame always gets rated so high in the beginning of the season, right? so
yeah. I've overlooked Notre Dame. Now, this young coach for Notre Dame, at first I thought that he was over his head. Then he started recruiting. He got the quarterback last year from Wake Forest, if you recall.
Right.
And he made some adjustments. They've had some boneheaded plays. I think they lost by 1 play or so to Ohio State last year, if you recall.
Yeah.
It was some kind of brain cramp type of play. And I think what he needs to do, hopefully he's done that, and I'm looking for their page now, and I'll bring it up here, is he needs more X's and O guys. He's a very good recruiter, but he's a very young guy. He has leaned too much into recruiting and not enough into actual X's and O's. You still need X's and O guys even in the college game.
Right.
It's not like the NFL, but when you're playing these mega conferences where you've got teams like Texas and Georgia in the same conference, and the Notre Dame's always got a pretty impressive schedule, even though they're usually, like my dad would say, they're usually overrated and have been since the 70s, since Knute Rockne, or even before that. But, occasionally the Notre Dame will play up to par. Yeah, Marcus Freeman's his name. So they were 10-3 last year, 9 defensive guys, 6 offensive, and they've got this guy, Riley Leonard, coming over from Duke. Remember the Duke? He was the Duke quarterback last year. Okay, I'm surprised that the Duke coach didn't bring him over to A&M, but he didn't. Marcus Freeman, being the recruiter he is, he brings this guy in. So that's my only criticism of Freeman is get the better X's and O guys in here. Hell, they play at A&M the very first game of the season, August 31st. That's going to be a good one because you got old coach versus quarterback playing each other, But Notre Dame, they play A&M. They got Florida State at home. They've got a pretty easy draw.
You think Florida State is going to be easy for them?
Well, it's at Notre Dame per se.
Yeah, I think Florida State.
It's not down in Florida. It's not down in Tallahassee.
But even down in Tallahassee, even they're not being in Tallahassee. I feel like that team has gone stronger, and they did end up the year playing better.
They do play at a USC at the very end of the season. But I think Notre Dame might slip in there. Now that I'm looking at their schedule, Louisville at home, Florida State at home. Their toughest game might be at A&M to open the season. And I don't know how USC is going to play. I think USC is overrated. And Lincoln Riley still ain't tightened his defense up.
Yeah,
Notre Dame had a good transfer. Yeah, Riley Leonard, Riley Leonard may be as good or better than the guy that transferred to him last year. I can't remember his name. He was the Wake Forest guy. Remember, he kind of underachieved though at Notre Dame.
Yeah, well, he got them a new set of. He got an NIL deal that was worth more than 5 players, and
yeah. I mean, I just cannot believe Notre Dame again drawing this. Well, I don't think they'll get in with 2 losses with this schedule. It's 57th ranked schedule nationally. You know, I mean, if USC is mediocre,
I think the top 5 is maybe Georgia and Ohio State. I think Oregon.
Yeah. Ohio State's got a pretty good. They got a
their roster is good, but they got to play football. I mean, they're gonna. This coach, he's out of his mind though. He thinks he's the best coach in the NCAA now.
Who, Ohio State?
Yeah. He said something.
Well, they got a lot of transfers. Some people think that they're number 1 team in the country. This Brett McMurphy guy, he thinks Oregon's the number 1 team in the country. They got Dylan Gabriel from Oklahoma that transferred there.
I mean,
but those 2 teams will play. That'll be a heck of a game in October for Ohio State.
I just like Alabama. I like the SEC, and as soon as Saban announced he was retired, they lost 10 players to the portal, like right off the bat.
Yeah.
So,
what's your thoughts on my assessment that potentially 9 teams can make it out of the SEC?
9 teams, man.
I mean, I'm not saying 9 teams are going to make it. I'm saying 9 teams have the talent. The only teams I didn't that say couldn't make it are Florida because their schedule's too difficult.
Right.
Oklahoma because Brett Venables is not a very good coach. Kentucky don't have the talent nor the depth. Same thing with Mississippi and Vanderbilt. But everybody else, Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Tennessee, Missouri, A&M, I think all those teams have a legit shot to make it. What do you think about those teams?
Maybe 6, not 9. I mean, I don't have too much trust in Missouri.
Okay, you thought maybe last year was more of a fluke that they're going to fall off?
Yeah, even though they had that one running back who was great.
Yeah, you and Kevin both talked about him. Yeah, he's with the 49ers now.
Yeah, they're gonna like him. And then I feel like Texas is too inconsistent with how they play games.
You think that they're not going to be able to handle going to the SEC?
I think it's going to be different for them. They might end up being like the Florida of the 2000s where they, come in strong and then they'll lose a few games in the back end, but still be in contention for a bowl game,
Yeah.
Because they're a good team. I wouldn't say they're a great team, but they're a good team. But the SEC isn't a good football conference. It's a great football conference, and it's an NFL prepping conference. So it's another level, So some of these teams that be playing, like I will always feel like Missouri, and since they came in, Texas A&M, I feel like they've always been trying to play catch up, and now they're finally getting it, and they're almost at where they need to be, competitive, highly competitive. Even though they've been putting out a lot of football players, NFL football players, I just think it's just down the last, maybe in the last 5 to 6 seasons, they've been getting at where they should be at for the SEC. So,
yeah, I just thought that they had their schedule's pretty doable. It's pretty interesting. Now, Ohio State, a lot of hype on them this year.
They always come in the top 5. Top 5 teams always come in with a lot of hype. So
they're like the usual suspects. Ryan Day in his 7th year. I've heard a lot of hype. Who was it? Urban Meyer says he thinks this is maybe the most talented team that he's ever seen at Ohio State. They've got what's his name? Brian Kelly, the former UCLA coach, former Oregon coach. He's their offensive coordinator now.
At Ohio?
Ohio State, yeah. Yeah, he left UCLA. So they're going to be doing that power running game where they're doing, they're running the ball up to the line of scrimmage really fast. They might have this may be their year to take a shot at a national championship.
Well, had they had him last year, there was Harrison Jr., they was not even using him in a couple of series where they could have used.
Do you think maybe they were a little too finesse with having all these receivers and not having the power running game they've had in the past?
I think they need to work on identity. Like, what are they going to do? Like, is it, going to be a team offense, or is it going to be a quarterback driven? Is it going to use the running backs? Like, just pick one.
Yeah,
they kind of look like the Eagles last year. Just like they didn't know whether they're going to run the ball, whether they're going to throw the ball. So it's like,
they did kind of look like the college version of the Eagles. That's a good point, man.
They just pick something, go with it, so that way you build confidence when you win, and then you can slowly, diverge into different things. But you got to give your team something to aspire to, man. You can't just be all over the place.
Do you think Rondé will get fired this year?
I don't think he'll get fired.
If they underachieve?
I don't think
Michigan. Harbaugh's gone now, and
I don't think he'll get fired for another 2 seasons. So if they do bad, because if they have one bad season, what are you going to compare it to? Right.
Well, last year they've lost 3 straight to Michigan.
Yeah, but
that's
more of your alumni trying to please your alumni than it is playing college football. Like, you got to be real, as an athletic director and alumni, you're like, we can't lose to Michigan, but we can lose all other teams. That don't make no sense. Like, and sometimes it's the way you lose. And I think it's because the way they lost that he has this cloud over his shoulder, but he needs to focus on the game and the players and making sure that they're just ready to play football. And he can't do that. He can't pick an identity, and have them stick to it. And like I said, I don't think it'll be this season, but if he can't do that, then it'll be next season.
Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly. Brian Kelly is the coach for LSU. Yeah. LSU, I got my Kellys mixed up. Chip Kelly's their offensive coordinator. Now, they play at Oregon on October 12th. But you know what? Ohio State really don't have that tough a schedule. They do play at Penn State on November the 2nd. But other than that, Michigan at home, Northwestern, Indiana, Akron, Western. They still got the typical Ohio State walk in the park type of schedule. I just like to see them play in the. It's like they lose focus a lot, and they do have the players,
right? That's what I think. Another thing that doesn't help, and I'm not going to try to be negative about that. I think the fact that they sometimes get major injuries that affect their play, that affect their team, that they have to sometimes go to something else. But man, you can't just be like saying that every year. You got to do something. Like if you don't, like this is why you're recruiting your players. You build a culture, build an identity, and then just go with it. So,
Yeah. I think they'll probably make it this year to the playoff. They'll probably lose that Oregon game because it's at Eugene, but they've got.
Well, you tell me in your top
9 defensive players coming back, 7 offensive, plus they got the running game that's going to be looking good. Chip Kelly used to coach it. That'll be a really good game, man.
But he's like more than 3 seasons removed from Oregon, like.
Well, still, but that's when they really became known. When Chip Kelly was coaching up there, he got them in the national championship game, if you don't recall.
No,
against Auburn. I think he was still coaching that team.
From the top 10, do you feel like this coach's pool is somewhat on it?
What's that?
From the top 10, do you think this coach's pool is somewhat honest?
Well, Michigan's overrated. They're just living off last year, man.
I know most of these teams are. So
I don't know what's going to happen with they're going with the new quarterback at Florida State. They got the same quarterback at Missouri. Missouri's number 11. You know, is that Indiana? Oh, it's Utah. Okay, yeah, Utah's 13. Utah's always got a good defense, man.
Well, they got older. They always have older players that
Yeah, I got guys like 25 years old.
You
know, bunch of Mormon guys that's been there for a long time, and
a lot of Polynesians. We got a lot of Polynesians that come through there that are hard players. I just feel like in the top 10, maybe Penn State and Ole Miss move up, and then I see Texas and Alabama move down a little bit. But then it will eventually.
Yeah, Alabama's defense could be shaky, man. You know, that's. I would hate to be DeBoer having to follow Saban like that, but he'll probably have Moreau will probably play up to par on the quarterback for Alabama.
But that's just a huge deficit between the 10 players that you're losing in the transfer portal, and then your highly decorated coach. That's tough, man. So we'll see. It brings to a new wave, right? You gotta keep reforming and start new things,
Yeah. I mean, Alabama couldn't run that forever.
That's what we talk about we talked two seasons ago. We talked about Alabama going to be number 1 for the next 10 seasons.
Well, it just felt like it, and then
now this happened last season. So
once Tennessee beat them a couple years ago, I thought to myself, Saban's just not a big fan of this NIL stuff. And you could kind of see that he's really getting frustrated. I thought he would adjust and maybe give a heads up on a retirement, but he just retired, man.
Yeah, I don't want to sound like a Tennessee fanboy, but I do see Tennessee sneaking up into the top 10. But I don't know if they could, even if they sneak up.
Okay.
I don't know if they can hold.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Tennessee. Sounds like he was putting a wet blanket on me and Kevin yesterday, hyping up the Vols. But Vols, I think I got to tell the truth.
We gotta keep it real. As much as the team's improving, I just feel like for the last 10 seasons, everybody who was in Alabama had a target on Alabama. That was a game that you circled and even if you played Alabama and you didn't win, how many points could you score in Alabama, right? So that was that's your measuring stick. And now there's no measuring stick in the SEC. Because even
I think it's still Georgia. They haven't lost a regular season game. The
problem was that Georgia's biggest game was always against Alabama.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Alabama waiting to play Georgia. It was like Georgia has to beat Alabama because their former coach used to coach at Alabama. Right? So now you don't have that anymore. Now you have Kirby Smart, and it's like, okay.
But
Kirby Smart don't have to play Alabama.
A lot of people, including Paul Feinbaum, says that Alabama was chasing Georgia at the end. I'm not sure if I still believe that, but that's the school of thought because Georgia had been favored over Alabama. They had 4 consecutive seasons undefeated in the regular season, and they beat Alabama national championship a few years ago.
There's a rhetoric like that spoke up, but I don't believe that's true in any case because at the end of the day, they had the same thing when they talk about Clemson, right?
Yeah,
like everybody's trying to be like, oh, we got to beat Dabo Swinney.
2 championships.
He's getting all these recruits. We got to do this, right? And now Dabo Swinney's like, wait a minute. This transfer portal is not helping my image. It's not helping like my culture, like who we are. This is not how we get players.
Yeah,
right. So because he got to change, but he's not going to change. He's like, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to do it my way. And if I don't get players, I don't care. Like he's trusting in his system. Fine, whatever. But Saban wasn't like that. Saban didn't have to chase nobody. Once he won that first championship in Alabama, that was it. Everybody wanted to go to Alabama. Now that people wanted to go to Georgia because it was like they had an opportunity. They had a coach that came from Alabama. They had, so maybe they can beat Alabama. At the end of the day, we're going to
only team that's beat Georgia in years is Alabama.
I mean, and in the last 2 seasons, they've been playing each other twice in the championship. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so.
I mean, it's an interesting question. it's to see Georgia being the hunted. That he's a young coach. I think they'll handle it, but I cannot wait to see them play a team like a Texas. Because remember the NFC East has been down. Really, I mean, Tennessee has just not matched up well with them in the last 5 years. And Florida really hasn't matched up well with them either. And then who's the other teams? Missouri and Kentucky and Vanderbilt. Those teams really, other than Missouri last year, Georgia barely broke a sweat against these guys.
I think LSU is going to be on up in the next 2 seasons. I think. Yeah. I don't think that people are.
They fired their coordinator, so maybe their defense will tighten up because it was an LSU level defense.
And A&M high in NIL.
A&M's got the new coach, man. They got
the NIL money.
Players.
Yeah, and they got the NIL money.
18 starters coming back for A&M.
Yeah, so they got I think Georgia's the hunted, and I don't think they're going to be able to do what Alabama's been able to do with the La Resistance for the 10 seasons straight. I don't think Kirby Smart can do it. I like their players. Their top-rated players are all 5-star, 4-star
You think they're going to lose to Clemson on August 31st?
I don't think that's the game.
Played in Atlanta.
They might not lose that game, but that game will probably be close. But then that's gonna make their confidence level go down because they should be able to whip up on Clemson with the team that they have and the coaches down there. They should be able to whip Clemson up. And if they don't, I'm telling you, Robert, that's it. That confidence level is going to be there's going to be a chink in the armor, and everybody in the SEC is going to have the target ready to go on them and and shoot them up. Believe it, because it's the same thing. Saban is like Belichick, right? And it's like, oh dang, we gotta play Tom Brady and Belichick, and it's like there's just something about having to play a coach and a team that's on another level.
Yeah, I just can't believe that Georgia's played this well. Do
you think Georgia's going to get another championship this year?
Well, right now I would probably lean Georgia, but
would you put $100 that Georgia will be in the third?
Yeah,
even 100's like the 100's like on the low end. Would you bet as somebody looking at what does Vegas have them at?
Oh, they're the favorites, man.
Yeah. So would you put $100? Would you put 100 on them for them to be on the third championship?
Even if they lose that game at Texas, they're still going to get into the playoff. They'll probably still win the SEC, my guess. They got the Clemson game August 31st. They play at Texas October 19th. They play at Ole Miss November 9th. I was talking about that with Kevin. They could possibly lose that game because Ole Miss has got 20 out of 22 starters coming back.
Ole Miss got like 25-year-olds, man. They got like NFL.
Yeah, I mean, and that's between Florida and Tennessee, which is a traditional rival for them. They could potentially lose 2. But you know what? I think they'll win that Texas game because Texas has to play Oklahoma before that.
Yeah,
and that's a rival game. That's a big rival game for Texas. It's hard to get up 2 weeks in a row,
I'm not big on Texas. I don't like how they finished last year. We both called that with Washington beating them in the playoff. Yeah, and I was hoping that the Manning thing, not Eli,
Arch.
The Manning thing was not going to affect them, but it does affect them. And just start him or don't start him. Just stop with that.
Well, yours keeps beating him out. The Quinn Ewers kid.
It's like just do what you did with. I mean, just follow what Saban did with 2 quarterbacks. You play one until you say, okay, dude, you play and you run with it and see what happens. Whatever.
Well, I think Quinn Ewers is playing pretty. He beat Alabama last year. They had a shot to beat Oklahoma. If Oklahoma didn't win that game, Brent Venables wouldn't be the coach.
You think so? I think with Oklahoma, they have so much tradition, and they have a alumni that just, man, they just screaming to just want to be competitive every year and then trying. And I don't think they want to go through more coaching, to be honest with you. As much as they have the money to do it, and as much as they have,
like, they got a low self-esteem. They'll probably keep Venables.
So, but we'll see. This is exciting. It's going to be for all the changes.
Oh, I know, man. I mean, Texas being here and this big playoff, it's
playoffs.
These games are going to be off the hook, man. I mean, yeah.
How about this? I will suggest that college football this year will be even watched even more than NFL. And NFL added an extra day.
Well, I wouldn't say that the ratings will be better, but I do think the ratings will be, you'll have more ratings in the 10 to 20 million, right? Which is crazy for college.
Brian said, yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I'm gonna go into my
NFL's had 50 million people watch some of these Dallas games.
The problem is I'm in New York and I'm a New York fan. So the thing is, I'm gonna be more excited about watching SEC football and watching the change of the conferences for some of these teams, and to see how they do things, than I am about the beginning of the NFL season. I'm just gonna be totally honest with you. So because I want to watch football and I want to watch football be played. I don't want to see. I don't want to wait for the 6th or 7th week to watch my team perform better and get better.
Yeah.
I'm over that. I've watched that for the last 8 seasons in the NFL, and I'm over that. I want to watch football every single quarter played out 100%.
We'll see good December football with Texas. Past the first week, and I was talking about this with Kevin, man. We're going to be seeing teams play huge home games like December 15th. You're going to see maybe Knoxville being packed with people playing an Ole Miss or an Oregon or somebody in the playoffs, somebody like that. Can you imagine? Or Tennessee at Eugene, something of that nature. Before it starts, if you want to pick, I think we should pick an SEC championship game. I'll give you mine, not now, but before the season starts, man. In the next couple of weeks, if you want to do that, we'll pick and see who our SEC champion's going to be. It's a tough conference, man. It's a tough conference. Not sure if it's going to be Alabama. And it might not be.
I will put money down that it won't be Alabama.
Right. Right. Yeah, Texas. I don't know, man. Yeah, Texas. That Stark is not really good in too many big games in a row. He's going to have quite a few. They got to play A&M just like old times. Texas plays Texas A&M the end of the season, November 30th. I mean, A&M's a big wild card. Major wild card. It's really hard to get a feel for it. It's hard to say one team's going to run off with it. Some people say it's going to be Ohio State because they got the easy road, and others say teams like Oregon because they got a pretty good road. But
when does the national poll come out for the top 25 teams?
The AP poll comes out in a couple of weeks.
Okay. How about that? How about we do the show revolving on what the AP is?
Okay. All right, we'll do that, man. And you got anything else you need to plug? We got about 2 minutes left.
I'm gonna do a show for baseball either tomorrow morning or Monday. I'm getting ready to get down to the nitty gritty and going back to Nash Vegas here in a few days.
Okay, so let me know about the or something.
Yeah, we'll get together and do something. So everybody, listen. The Olympics are going on. U.S. almost ate it, but
they almost lost to Serbia, didn't they?
Yeah, thank God for Steph Curry, man, carrying the team, man. But
36 points.
Now they got to play France, so you guys keep up with the Olympics, and we'll talk about some of those games too, maybe next.
Yeah, time. Man. Yeah, especially if they lose. Hopefully they won't, but
I don't know. But Wembanyama, he's been playing well for France, man. I will say this: they've been people who have been big and tall in the NBA for forever.
Yeah.
This is one of the first times I've seen the kid, because he's still young, so coordinated and flexible.
For
Yeah, he's
7'5", I mean, he's
yeah. I mean, he's tall as heck, but
yeah.
and he understands his body. So that is this kid is just gonna get stronger. It's just gonna get smarter.
Yeah.
This is gonna be he's gonna be a good player in the NBA. Spurs, they're gonna be a team to deal with in the next season or two. For sure.
Yeah, I think they'll get one of those last playoff spots this year.
Yeah, this has been an
They got
incredible.
Chris Paul to help out, and they
It's been
signed
an
another
incredible
player
watch.
too.
So
So, yeah, he's getting better fast. All right, man. Appreciate you coming by, and we'll definitely stay in with this college football thing as we get closer.
yeah, we can bring in Kevin in the spin too, because I don't want to be the only one thinking one thing, because I know that I can be abrasive about my opinions, but you know,
yeah, we definitely will, man.
I do want to
Especially
be
there
fair.
in college. You guys really know college football, so
Well, it's better than NFL football. That's why.
in some places it is, you know, with the way it's set up this year. But anyways, all right, man. Have a good
All right,
night.
guys.
I'll see you next week. Otherwise,
Enjoy your weekend.
all right, brother. You too, man. All right, everybody. I will see you Tuesday here on the program, and have a good weekend, everybody.